Shaquille O'Neal is one of the most well-known and respected professional basketball players in history, having played for some of the most iconic teams and recently having been inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. Needless to say, Shaq is a legend in the world of sports, pop culture, and entertainment. But while most people may think of his enormous shoe size when they think of Shaq, what most people don't often think of is the story of how he spent his first $1 million in one day. In 1992, the then 20-year-old got a $1 million endorsement deal right before getting drafted. The money would soon go into purchasing fancy sports cars, TVs, electronics, and other luxuries. A few days later, Shaq gets a call from his bank manager, who sat him down and said he was $60,000 in debt. His bank manager mentioned to Shaq that he's seen a lot of cases where talented athletes have amazing careers and make a lot of money, but end up retiring with very little. He told Shaq that he didn't want to see him repeat this pattern. According to Shaq, this was the defining moment that forever changed the way he handles money. Shaq, of course, went on to have an iconic career in the NBA. He also finished college, received an MBA, and even a PhD. Today, the basketball star has a net worth of $400 million, making him one of the wealthiest athletes in the world. I love Shaq's story because not only is it super inspiring, it also highlights that we're not defined by our past mistakes. And it's how we grow and come out of those mistakes that builds resilience and character to build long-term wealth and success. But this video isn't about Shaq or basketball, sorry. This video is about the 70% of lottery winners who win jackpots with more money than most people would see in a lifetime, and they lose it within a few years. How is this possible? This video will dive into the fact that for most lottery winners who end up broke, it is for reasons not too different from why Shaq lost his first $1 million. While the reality is that most people will never actually win the lottery in their lifetime, the shocking statistics actually point to an underlying societal issue, the issue of the lack of financial literacy and the lagging quality of financial education prevalent in our economic, social, and educational system. According to the National Endowment of Financial Education, about 70% of people who suddenly receive a windfall of cash will lose it within 3 to 5 years. John McNay, a financial consultant to lottery winners and the author of Life Lessons from the Lottery, told Time, quote, "So many of them wind up unhappy or wind up broke. People have had terrible things happen. People run through their money. Easy come, easy go. It's just upheaval that they're not ready for. It's the curse of the lottery because it made their lives worse instead of improving them." Steve Hewitt, CEO of Wealth Financial Group in Chicago, said, quote, "Ordinary people all of a sudden become extraordinary. They're euphoric. They lose all sense of reality. They think they're invincible and powerful. They think they're Superman." This, of course, leads to irrational and oftentimes self-destructive decision-making. This narrative is not too different from many high-profile lottery winners, like Jack Whitaker from West Virginia, who said, "I wish we had torn the ticket up," years after winning a $315 million jackpot in 2002. Or Donna Micken, who won $34.5 million in the New York State Lottery in 2007. Micken wrote in a 2014 blog post, quote, "Many of us think that winning the lottery is the ultimate fulfillment, but I found that wasn't the case. Most people look at winning the lottery as some magic pot of gold waiting for you at the end of the rainbow. If you ask me, my life was hijacked by the lottery." Part of the reason for this is that our brains eventually adapt to our circumstances. While having a large influx of money can feel exhilarating in the moment, eventually your brain will adapt to the new amount of wealth as your baseline, and a person's new lifestyle and sense of normalcy will be pegged to this new level of wealth. This is why after a few weeks or months after winning the lottery, you won't feel any more happier or miserable compared to how you were prior to winning the jackpot. Okay, so money isn't the key to happiness, but that still doesn't explain why lottery winners go broke. To better understand this question, let's explore the only two problems with money. In Robert Kiyosaki's book, The Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, the author mentions that there are only ever two problems with money: not having enough money and having too much money. This may sound strange considering most of us don't even think of having too much money to be a problem. And that's totally understandable considering most of the world deals with the first problem of not having enough money. But from the perspective of former lottery winners, clearly there is more to the story than what we see on the surface. The former category is defined as struggling to find enough money to pay for basic expenses such as housing, food, transportation, electricity, or water. But the reality is, we actually experience the quote-unquote problem of having too much money more often than we think. That's because the problem of too much money really has nothing to do with our level of income, our net worth, or how much money we currently have at the moment. Every dollar you have left over after all your basic expenses have been paid is a surplus. This amount can be $1 or $1 million. The amount is irrelevant. And when you have money left over after your basic expenses have been paid, you are faced with a choice. The choice of whether you want to spend your surplus money for immediate enjoyment or to save those very dollars for your future enjoyment or well-being. This choice constitutes the very principle of the problem of having too much money. Assuming you're like most people, working a job and paying for your monthly expenses, chances are you'll have some money left over after paying for the basics. But while most of us would probably have a surplus, though it's not much considering that 64% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, imagine this: you've lived all your life on a relatively tight budget. Then all of a sudden, you have an influx of tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars flood into your bank account. More money than what most of us can even begin to imagine. So now you're actually dealing with the problem of having too much money. Because the fact is now you have to make a choice. What are you going to do with the hundreds of millions of dollars that you just received? Are you going to go on a luxury cruise? Perhaps some gambling in Vegas or Monte Carlo? Or maybe a shopping spree at Louis or Chanel? Or would you prefer to invest it? And if you do choose to invest it, how would you break down the asset allocation? Are you going to put it in real estate, gold, cryptocurrency? Which cryptocurrencies? Are you going to buy stocks? Which stocks? And how much in each stock? So now you can begin to understand how the basis of money management and asset allocation is a full-time job, one that requires a specialized skill and experience practiced over many, many years. Now, on the bright side, having the problem of too much money means that you probably don't have to worry about starving or paying for proper housing. But the influx of this amount of money means that whoever is in possession of this money must learn to properly allocate this money to ensure that he or she does not go broke ever again. But the problem is that the vast majority of people, especially those that are living paycheck to paycheck every single month, have never really had to ask the question of how to allocate a bunch of capital. Unfortunately, this results in a widespread societal ignorance of the whole concept of investing and asset allocation. In the case of many lottery winners, the heightened sense of euphoria associated with the influx of such a large amount of cash, combined with the ignorance to the concept of saving, investing, proper financial management, and asset allocation, makes these very people to believe that there is only one thing you can do with all this extra cash: spend it. And just like our friend Shaq at the age of 20, the widespread societal ignorance to the idea of sound financial management leads to poor financial decisions that ultimately take these seemingly lucky lottery winners to the brink of bankruptcy and self-destruction. On a happy note, of course, there are many lottery winners that go on to thrive. Missouri lottery winner Sandra Hayes has managed to keep her head above water after splitting a $224 million Powerball jackpot with 12 coworkers. According to CNBC, the former social worker has avoided financial misfortune by maintaining her frugal lifestyle even though she no longer lives paycheck to paycheck. Hayes said, quote, "I know a lot of people who won the lottery and are broke today. If you're not disciplined, you will go broke." Words of wisdom indeed. Because ultimately, the story of why so many lottery winners end up broke isn't about the lottery at all. It's about the widespread need seed of developing disciplined decision-making and financial management skills early on in life. While the whole idea of getting rich quick sounds really nice, sometimes it's better to do it the hard way. Work hard and build your wealth over the span of 20 to 30 years. And during that time, you would have developed the necessary skills to manage that money and make good decisions. Shaq has said that he's happy to have learned the hard way about money management early on in life. His mistakes are what made him develop the skills, principles, and wisdom to accumulate wealth, and most importantly, keep that wealth over the past 30 years. In his own words, excellence is not a singular act, but a habit. You are what you repeatedly do. And here's the thing, the odds of winning the Lotto Max are 1 in 33 million. Unpopular opinion here, but wouldn't we have better odds of making that money, and most importantly, keeping that money, if we just rolled up our sleeves and worked for it over time? Some fruit for thought as we head on to the weekend. Once again, this channel takes a principled approach to personal finance and investing on the journey to financial freedom. If you want to join myself and a community of financial freedom seekers on an exciting journey of learning and sharing skills, wisdom, and principles, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel so we're empowered to do more meaningful work and lead more fulfilling lives. I'm Caitlin, have the best day ever, and I'll see you in the next one.